Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Wandering Reader. We're going to be going over chapter 3. It's been a while since I've read some of these, but really enjoying what I'm reading and want to continue reading. Seta Library. Sorry for the sniffles. A little bit of allergies over here. So, yeah, really quickly. Do I think this is Doshi or something like that. So that's the category. Category is 都市, which is just basically city or urban life. 都市生活, which is urban living, just urban life, slice of life, that sort of thing. Generally covering topics like rebirth, more realistic, less superpower based web novels. And the title, 重生 or yeah, 重生之思水流年. So rebirth is like those flowing years, or homecoming. Rebirth is like those flowing years. I think that's how it's translated. So we're going over chapter 3 for Wandering Reader. Rebirth is like those homecoming years. 第三章 搞定, which is get it done. And I guess we'll begin. Nice background, and we'll start reading. After the 2 exams in the morning, Chile went straight home. The #1 middle school is located east of Shanghai City, and next door is the Korean middle school. Shanghai people call it Cao High School. That's just how they pronounce it, Caoxie. South Korea, 韩国, but we won't go too much into that. And Chile's house, just outside the south wall of Cao High School, is the family room of the grain depot. That kind of long row of bungalows separated by the old style of one family. So we're talking these long walled neighborhoods, right? So you that stereotypical wall you think of in China, which is this long white wall with tiles on top. So, in America or in the US, right, there's this idea of like the American dream with the white picketed fence. This is Chinese own style. I think they call it 四合院, which is like, this courtyard where you have a white wall surrounding it, a wooden door or gate like that opens outward, with like the lion's head. So very stereotypical. You see that with the palaces, but even like the small courtyard or city, you'll see that. And it'll just be like these cobblestone streets, these long white walls with like um the tiled tiled like rooftop, and then inside you'll have the courtyard with some trees, and then like surrounding the courtyard you'll have the inner area, which is the house. But yeah, so it's a very enclosed front yard, kind of like Greek courtyards where they all face inward, but we'll talk about that another time. So Chile was born there. He spent his childhood, his and youth there. In later generations, Chile went to college, he went to graduate school, very fortunate by the way, and worked in other places. Um, Additionally, Chi's father and Chi's mother were laid off and retired. The family also moved out of that old house and didn't go back or return for 10 years. Chile searched for his memory and returned to that familiar alley again, as if he was returning home. This is like the appeal of do-over novels. A little bit of reminiscence, but a little bit of hope of what you can do better or what improve on. And as he stood in front of the old iron gate, his heart was filled with emotion. In his past life, he used to dislike this old and crowded home. He just wanted and he just wanted to escape, dreaming of having a brighter, more spacious new home in the city of high-rise buildings. The city is where it's at. However, after a few years, when the family tried their best and was bruised and bruised, right? There's a saying that goes, sometimes you must bend to the will of life. And when they finally arrived and got the new house of their own dreams, they found that the small yard with only 2 rooms covered with vines was the most peaceful and quiet harbor. I think there's a book called Money Boy by Gary Paulson. Book 2, actually, that said, like, ship is safe in harbor, that's what ships are for. But it just never going back, right? Time passes. Opening the door lock, Chile pushed in. The lush vines really came into view, reflecting the molten light and shadow in the sun. As the sun casts its rays onto the green vines and leaves and the shadow, you can almost imagine the dust collecting on the ground from the vines and pollen. There are also red brick floors and a self-built kitchenette, so almost like a stone-built oven or furnace where you'd cook a stove on. Chile stepped on it, and he liked to be excited. In later generations of novels, the protagonist, every time he is reborn, the first thing he thinks about is how to make a fortune and become rich. It's a very classic story. When it was Chile's turn, however, of course he wanted to live a better life and have more wealth, and he would also act upon it. But he felt that wasn't all that he was looking for. Shouldn't it be more worth looking forward to when a person goes back to the past year, see the people that he saw, those things, relive that beauty, and regain all the old dreams that he once had? Youth, 少花, the rainy season, 下雨. No amount of wealth and status can exchange for that, right? You stared outside the window, the rain dropped on your windowsill, and you can hear the pitter patter of raindrops. He didn't want to live again in a second life, but to eventually get to the age of 30 or 40, and then recall again his youth and, lick his wounds and regrets. To enjoy everything around me. Pushing the door into the house, everything seemed no longer so unfamiliar to him, so far away. He used to get into his own small bedroom, and the whole person was shot horizontally on the single bed. What I saw on the desk, the stack of slam dunk manga, the Yo-Yo White book on the table, the picture of Vivian Cho and Eking Chung on the wall. These are famous singers, by the way. That row of acoustic guitars, that dazzling midday sun. Cool. I think it's gonna be like shy or yeah, or it's just cool in English because they like English and Chinese. Chile bounced off the bed with a roar, hummed a song, and sat across the table. He dug out the 90% new chemistry textbook and started his bad career. He still has a test to study for after all. The exam started at 1:30 in the afternoon, and now it is just 11, and there are still 2.5 hours to use. As for Chile's father and Chi's mother, as for work, even when his son takes the high school entrance examination, they will not come back at noon. At that point in time, they're completely disappointed in Chile, and they didn't expect him to get any good grades. Besides, chemistry is 2 volumes less than physics. Um, 2 volumes of textbooks less than physics, but there's still a lot of things to be copied. Formulas, theorems, reaction equations, table of elements, atomic weights, all of which are not spared by Chile. Right? You got to do all of those algorithms and equations, various charts. What is it now? SP. Um, the models, electron diagrams, the tables. Oh, spin and all that. Yeah, you have to memorize all that. A good memory is not as good as bad writing. Just manually copy it over all over again to deepen the impression. That's correct. Rote memorization is basically just writing it down. It took an hour to finish copying 2 textbooks, which is much slower than physics, and I used one sheet of paper after another. However, Chile did not feel tired at all. Compared with the 9 to 9 rush and toil of adults, the hard work of school days is almost like playing around. While swimming in the ocean of knowledge, I only heard the sound of the courtyard door being kicked open, and 2 teenagers the same age as Chile walked in swaggeringly. 儿子，爸爸来看你了. Son, Dad is here to see you. Chile froze for a moment, but did not dare to look up. But he could imagine the appearance of the two in his heart. One, with gold-rimmed glasses, was as thin as a telephone pole. The other was a bright three-generation elite pinned to his chest like a turtle. When the 2 teenagers came to Chile's window and looked in through the half-open window, Chile spoke. "Put your things down and get out!" The two were stunned for a moment, terrified. It's not that Chile's words were rude, but Tamada, fuck, is this thing actually working? Pang Yi glared at Wu Ning next to him in horror, and Wu Ning also glanced at him in horror. Pang Yi, are you reading a book? Wu Ning, okay, it's like chemistry? Pang Yi, because of what? Wu Ning, which girl are you excited by? Which girl are you interested in? Pang Yi, is it too late? Wu Ning, is it late? Pang Yi, definitely late. Sheila broke out. Say it again. Put your things down and get out. Dele. Pang Yi and Wu Ning responded obediently. They handed a bag of steamed buns into the window respectfully and walked out with their heads drooping. Ah, friendship. Tang Yi didn't forget to remind, eat it while it's hot, don't get tired. Wu said, Brother Lei, wait for me for a while after the test. I ran to you when I left the test room, but people said you left early. Before closing the door, Wu asked again, Also, who's the one with the short hair in your exam room? She looks good. Um, I'm attract I'm attracted to her. Wait you basically means go back or return. Chile slapped the table and jumped up, but the tears were already streaming down his face in the shadow of the window that the two could not see. And the tears were streaming down her face. Winning turned back immediately. What's the matter? Brother Lei's already inquired about it. What's the girl's name? Which school is she from? Chile held back his emotions and said, I bet on a composition title. What's my what? Believe it or not. Get out. Say or say. Winning. Dot dot dot. Cha. Ah, brother or comrade, and you were talking about girls. What are you talking about? Are you too embarrassed to bet the question on the last test? Angrily, he threw his arms out and left. If you don't help me, I'll do it myself. Looking at the backs of the two, Chile again burst into tears. Tang He and Wu, his two best brothers, they've played around since childhood. He let them go away, not because the three of them parted ways one day in the future, but Chile is not ready to reunite with them. 10 years later, the three brothers were all successful in their studies, and they made an appointment to make a fortune in the damn society. But an accident took the lives of both brothers at the same time. 10 years later, Chile buried them with his own hands, crying like a child at their funeral. And now Chile didn't know what to say to them. Is it a warning to Tang Yi? Don't let your dad engage in a firecracker business? Still scolding Wu Ying. Why are you running abroad? I haven't seen you for several years. Or tell them, without you, my buddies don't do well. It's a shame. 失败了. Sit down and continue to copy books. There were still tears. He grabbed the buns and swallowed it desperately. This life, not only want them to live, but also to live better than previous life, right? You not only want to improve the lives of yourselves, but the other around you. In this life, there must be no shame. Well, thinking about everything is for nothing. The primary problem is the high school entrance examination. At 110, Chile came out of the house on time and went straight to the number 1 middle school. At 1:20, carrying 2 big feet, he entered the examination room on time. Next door, Shi Qian has arrived. There are Chinese textbooks spread out on the desk with her arms hanging under the desk. She's reading with her pointed chin against the desk. Seeing Chile come in, a pair of big eyes followed Chile's trajectory all the way, very playful. Chile sat in front of her and slapped a big foot on Shi Qian's table. My brother has never owed any favors in his life, especially the favor of beauties. Shi Qian raised her eyebrows, but there was no reason to refuse. He pulled out his arm neatly and started unpacking. Then it's really cheap to repay your favor. A popsicle will send your aunt away? Can Chile be better than a little girl? Gunyang, right? So that was his initial call when he returned. With a grin. Okay, if one is not enough, then I have no problem eating it for the rest of my life. Go away. Shi Qian rolled her eyes again. Forget it. I don't know what that in Chinese. Well, Chile just giggled and stopped talking. This kind of ambiguous joke, the point is to stop. If you say too much, it is hooligan, right? Cultured. As for Shi Qian, her little heart was beating wildly. No boy had ever made such a joke with her. I want to die. You know, the little girls in 1998 are still very naive. After a while, before the invigilator arrived, Chile approached Xu who was biting on a popsicle stick, and whispered, Please help! I'm really not good at this. Ha ha, Xu sneered. You're not very good at that? That's too bad. He subconsciously grabbed onto Chile's shoulder with an old face. 兄弟, brother, give it up. Malaba, or something like I can't, words don't come to mind. After speaking, he retracted her hand like an electric shock. She was surprised. How could she act like this? She had never done this before. Besides, they were still enemies in the morning. After 2 exams, they were called brothers and sisters? This boy is poisonous, Shi Qian told herself. She waved her hand in disgust. Go, go, stay away from your aunt. Chile didn't move. That's for sure. You gonna help me? Okay, okay, go back, darling. Chile smiled knowingly. It's done. Dot, dot, dot. That's chapter 3. Very interesting test chapter. Honestly, I want to skip this. I probably won't keep